The third Genestealer Cult character has joined Tacticus as Hollan Baumgart, the Biophagus, becomes the 83rd character overall to join the game. Today we'll look at whether they should be making a decision to start a new religion. Hollan Baumgart joins the game as the third Genestealer Cult member, and the big news is that he is a healer. This will be the first real Xenos healer, and so almost certainly a must-get character because of this. As a Biophagus, he is a scientist surgeon and a deadly agent of biological warfare. Their injector goad, which is the name of the crescent-shaped staff they are carrying, contains concoctions of the alchemist's own devising, virulent gene brews that temporarily grant one of their aberrant subjects enhanced strength and speed, or sometimes just to dose enemies with a mutagenic cocktail that rapidly dissolves them from within. And he sounds like a wonderful person to have at your parties. Just holla and he'll be there. As always in this series, we're going to take a look at 3 different things: how long it roughly takes to level him up to Diamond 3 when compared to other characters, his traits and general usefulness, how good he is in legendary events, and I won't be looking too much into his usefulness in guild raids or tournaments, as I leave that to our other wonderful content creators. So let's dive right in. Hollan is unlocked in the usual character release event. This one, the Path of Ascension, starts on November the 17th, and so you'll be able to get them very soon. It sees you collecting Ascension points by completing missions, which are then converted into synthesized germ seeds, and this allows you to open industrial crates which have the Path of Ascension shards and other goodies within them. These shards can then be used to unlock and level up Hollan, and you can see the missions on screen now. If you need help with these missions and getting the best possible start, then definitely check out my beginner's guide to character events, which is linked in the description below. Basically, if you play through the tournament arena and spend 110 blackstone per day, we will definitely be able to pick up each character at Epic 1 level without the need to purchase any additional packs. And in the meantime, if you want to earn some free blackstone to help you on your way, you can use my Referral Code in-game today to get 100 free blackstone. Just note, you can only use one Referral Code, so make sure you make the most of it. And let's start by looking at roughly how long it takes them to level from Stone 1 to Diamond 3. The reason I say roughly is because my sheets don't take into account all the extra ways you can get free energy, like in the tournament arena, nor getting items gifted from your guildmates or from the daily shop. It also doesn't take into account any hard to get items that haven't been added in lots of places yet, but even with all that in mind, it's always interesting to see how they compare to the other characters. And I put out a video recently looking into the results of the last patch, and I was surprised to see the impact of these changes not being quite in line with what the developers had stated. And so we've seen a new set of changes coming into place in the last patch. But until I do a deep dive, I will just use the effective rates from the previous patch, and then next week I'm going to do a video showing 100 pools of each rarity and upgrade again with the changes that have come from the last patch, and then we'll see how things lie. So what about Hollan? Where does he fit in? Well, similarly to his Genestealer buddies, he is not the easiest to level. He comes in 69th position, being easier to level than the Pattern, but more difficult than Zybia, and he takes 36 days to level up from Stone 1 to Diamond 3. And if we look at the graph, we can see them over here. And it takes Hollan 3 days to go from Stone 1 to Bronze 1, another 2 days from Bronze 1 to Silver 1, 5 days to Gold 1, 12 days to Diamond 1, and then 14 days to Diamond 3, which of course adds back up to a total of 36 days. So, as with all the other Genestealers, Hollan is not the easiest to level in the game, but let's see if they have anything worthwhile in their kit. We'll start with his traits. Hollan is a Xenos character. They have a toxic one-hit melee attack and no ranged attack. He has the ambush trait, which leaves a decoy token the first time that he's killed, and if there's one decoy token somewhere on the battlefield at the start of the next turn, then he's resurrected with full health and can immediately take a turn. And he's a healer, which means he can heal non-mechanical characters. And during the last character release, we added a new section to test the character's damage, range damage, and defense. It works like this. The character's leveled up to Winged Diamond 3 with level 30 skills and no weapons or equipment. And then Castellan Creed, who has the most average armor for a character in the game, becomes a punching bag for them to test their damage. And finally, Creed will punch them back to see what their defensive skills are like. Then they're ranked against everyone else in the game. So let's see how we do today. Creed, are you ready for today's test?
Yeah, I'm here. Who's the fruitcake you brought for me today?
This is Hollan. He's a Xenos hybrid healer.
Well, he smells like a wet sock, so let's get on with this.
Hollan does 2,415 melee attack, he has no ranged attack, and he would take 4,982 damage from Creed. Creed, we're not hitting this week.
I am sorry!
So with those scores, Hollan comes in at 52nd place on the damage chart, so pretty much in the middle, and that toxic one-shot doing alright, and all healers need this extra damage because that impacts their actual heal. Hollan has a lower heal than Incisors, but higher than Rotbone. In terms of defense though, he comes in 79th position in terms of defending, which means he's the 5th worst defender in the game. He is paper, and will absolutely melt when somebody does get into his face. So he isn't exactly going to be a combat healer on the front lines. You really are going to need to keep him in the middle of a battle ball and away from range damage. For his skills, his passive is Twisted Science, which is in the healing category of skills, and units healed by Hollan have their maximum health increased. And if they're a Genestealer Cult unit, then they also deal an extra amount of damage too. Should this be prioritized as a skill over others? As a healing skill, I definitely will be leveling this up, and I would definitely recommend it for new players too. His active is Aberrant Hypermorph, and this falls into the spawning category of skills. Hollan summons an Aberrant Hypermorph, a beast that, although misshapen and possessed of an inferior intellect, they are physically powerful and have superhuman endurance. And we can see that coming to the forefront with a new trait, Hypermorph, and this gives the spawn extra damage based on its current health. As it also has the ambush skill, it might be necessary to damage these and then leave them alive, rather than letting them come back to live at full health, or just making sure you squash its decoy after you kill it. Should this be prioritized as a skill over others? As always, with a spawning skill, it's definitely worth leveling for new players. So what do I think about their traits and skills? Well, it's simple. He is the first Xenos healer, and whatever else we think of him, he is going to be an essential character to pick up. His ability to increase others' health, spawn beasts onto the battlefield, and revive himself if he dies with a decoy, it's all shaping up to be very interesting. In terms of what modes they fit into, I think he's going to be essential for legendary events, just like Isabella, Incisors, and Rotbone. And although he doesn't have a revive or passive heal, he will be able to keep your characters alive for a long time, and even buff them a little bit with his passive. He also has one hit, which means he will fit into some of those trickier battles we have to face, like the Karn Alpha Track one-hit battle where you can't use Imperials. For guild raids, most of the teams are about DPS or buffing characters, and I don't see him fitting in anywhere currently. For tournament arena, healers are just too easily popped, and so I doubt he'll be appearing in there outside of a faction war. And finally, for guild wars, I think any healer is interesting at a high level, so it's a maybe on this one, but again, he is very squishy. And so who does he work well with? It's difficult to see exactly who they will work well with, as they're a bit of jack of all trades, so the easy call is just to stick them in with Pattermine and Zybia and let them absolutely fill the battlefield with decoys and summons. You'll always find him hauling his little staff around the back of the field, that's for sure. Then they need a couple of tanks in front of them to slow down the enemy from getting to him and Zybia. So anyone with Overwatch that controls the space on the battlefield here well. I'm thinking Revas, even though she's mechanical, or more usefully Morganran Kalandis, who can snipe the heck out of anyone coming close. So overall, this is just someone we will have to get. There is no other answer for it. And so moving on to the legendary events, let's take a look and see where he fits in. Starting with the Karn event, in the Alpha track, he appears in the No Psychic and Max 1-hit battles. In the Beta track, he appears in the No Terminator Armor and No Big Target battles. And in the Gamma track, he appears in the No Mechanical and No Flying battles. And overall, he finishes with a score of 315. A good score here is 400, so he doesn't do too badly in the Karn event. Moving to the Mephiston event, in the Alpha track, he appears in the Melee battle. In the Beta track, he appears in the No Big Target battle. In the Gamma track, he doesn't appear, and so he finishes on an extremely poor score of 90. Finally, for the new Pattermine event, in the Alpha track, he appears in the Melee and Max 4 hits battles. In the Beta track, he appears in the No Summons, Max 2 hits, and Melee battles. And he only appears in the No Summons battles providing you don't use his active. And in the Gamma track, he appears in the No Overwatch and No Final Vengeance battles. And so Hollan comes in with a good score at 350. So that's two good events, the Karn and the Pattermine event, and one extremely poor event, Mephiston event. And so if we move to have a look at the best characters overall in legendary events, this is the first time we've taken a proper look at the overall scores since the addition of the Pattermine event. And there are some interesting changes here. But let's start with finding Hollan. He enters in 45th place, which is not only a pretty good result for a healer, that's pretty high, and I definitely intend to be using him in any of those max one-hit battles I was talking about. I'll just say it again, a Xenos healer is a really high priority for us all to get. Taking a look at the top 20, we can see a whole host of changes with the addition of the Pattermine event. Aleph Null and Revas fly up to the top due to there being so many mechanical battles over the 3 current events, and they are so important to level up if you want to be succeeding in legendary events just now. I have both of them at diamond level, and the number of battles that they carry me through is so impressive. It's interesting to see Athana so high. That's definitely a new name, but not someone that I particularly think is great in legendary events because she's quite squishy. But the next bunch are familiar faces. Onshi, Tyrant Guard, Kalandis, Moggenra, and Makotep. And then after that, we finally find a non-Xenos character in Vindicta. It's quite ridiculous that there's only one non-Xenos in the whole top 10. Even more crazy is that there's only one Chaos in the whole top 20, and that's a bad in 20th position. The Chaos have definitely fallen from grace in the last couple of legendary events. So if you want to be opening all the current batch of legendary characters, definitely have your focus on Xenos, and that means Hollan is a wonderful tulip to join the field of freaky flowers. So what do you think of Hollan? Is this Genestealer Cult Biophagus going to be injecting their goad into you? Or will he be joining your other ignored collection of Xenos sitting at Stone 1? You can check him out right now in the latest version of the Google Planner Sheets link below.